One of the things that you're doing is getting ClickUp to 200 million impressions per month. You had a single video essentially capture 50 million impressions across socials.
Having a brand that had a lot of impressions has always been a goal of ours. We did a Super Bowl commercial for a reason. We've always wanted eyeballs because we believe we can turn those into users. We have created this short form content engine. TikTok is where I test it.
You don't have hooks. You're not making the product like the center of the content. And everybody's like, oh, this is what you should do. And you're doing the opposite.
I'm not going to do what everyone thinks. I'm not going to talk about our brand, but I'll get a lot of views. You just got to give me a tiny bit of time. I think one of the ways we've been able to stand out, we've always been known as that cool brand that's always doing something funny. We're not taking ourselves too serious.
How do you look at the success of social from a measurement standpoint?
Is the content worth it if it's not directly putting someone in the seats? And I think if you think that way, I think you'll never get these kind of numbers I had. Way more people want to laugh than they want to sign up directly for a tool, but that doesn't mean I can't get them later. Right now, of course, I track it by impressions, I track it by likes, I track it by growth of followers, and it's really paying itself back in big dividends. You look at the brands like Coke and Nike, they make you feel some type of way without just showing their products, and you got to find your own cool way to do that. So B2B.
How would you think about this if you were getting started at a company and you want to invest in a modern content first strategy?
Something I really wish we did.
Chris, welcome to the show, man.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, looking forward to chatting here. I think what you all are doing at ClickUp with your social strategy in particular, obviously, like we can go broader marketing in general, but specifically social, which you oversee, is one of the most inspiring and like what we can talk about effective approaches to B2B social in general. And, of late, one of the things that you're doing specifically for your own personal brand and your own content, which I think is really smart, is essentially like content series, basically for your own social, which is like how you're getting ClickUp to 200 million impressions per month. Follow along that journey, essentially, which I think is a smart approach for your own social, building that followership and almost that build in public approach. And so, today I kind of want to go deep on, how you all think about social in general, what's working across the platforms and things like that.
Yeah, it means a lot, Eric. I think at the beginning, it's very hard to go to the board and, things like that and say, hey, look, I'm going to take over social, particularly TikTok. That's the last platform most people are thinking of with all the issues about it potentially being banned. And, they think only kids are on there, et cetera. But I think that we've really gotten down the strategy. So to answer your question, I think the way I'm going about social is eyeballs first. I just want people to know about ClickUp, to hear about us. People forget that we still haven't been in the space near as long as our competitors. We've been around 7 years. It's weird for me to say that. I've been there since day one. But when we came into this space, it was a lot of giants here. There's a lot of, naysayers. And a lot of people told us that we were kind of hopping into an already very crowded space. But I think one of the ways we've been able to stand out, of course, is our product. We ship very fast, but I think we've always been known as that cool brand that's always doing something funny. We're not taking ourselves too serious. And we've always wanted to keep that, and I've known that since the beginning. And I wanted to kind of put that into our social. And the way that I found is everyone thinks in social, I just need to shove their brand down everyone's throat or just shove case studies, down everyone's throat, which is great. You should definitely do case studies. You should definitely talk about your product. But if you want to first grab attention, sometimes you need to do something else. And to me, it's one of three things. You either add value to them, right? Which I try to do to project managers in our space with our LinkedIn a lot. You either teach them something because we're not going back to school. Like it's very cool to learn on social. I like to do it myself. But lastly, you make them laugh. A lot of people just come to social to laugh. And I really always believed that and wanted to double down and triple down on that. And I finally really got the backing of our COO, Gaurav. He was like, look, do what you need to do. And that's kind of the strategy. And there's a whole more, there's a lot more on the back end that came from this viral video than just, maybe picking a creator and shooting a video, right? There's a lot more that goes into it that we can dive into, but we're treating this very serious. We're treating this like our own network. And that's why I think we're seeing success.
Yeah, there's a lot we can unpack there and we will, which is going to be fun. I think overall, maybe first, just context for everybody, like, of course, like in the project management, software tool space, there's a lot of competitors. There's also a lot of demand already in the market, people searching for these tools. So just from the highest level perspective, and then let's go deep tactical on the social side. How do you all think about obviously the context of this show is 95% content strategies, meaning like the content designed to get in front of buyers before they're in market. So it's meant for consumption, not conversion on social, podcasts, YouTube, newsletters, things like that. But then there is the 5% that's in market at any given time. They're saying, hey, I'm looking for a tool. I'm typing into Google, best project management software tool, things like that. In terms of ClickUp in general marketing strategy, I'm assuming you want to be everywhere a target buyer is searching for a tool like ClickUp. But like, yeah, how do you think about the prioritization of like both of those, the 5% and then the 95%?
Absolutely. If you're saying like 95% content, I think that we realized this early on. We realized how important SEO was. Like we just took ourselves
Yep.
through the buyer's journey, and we get it. In project management, people are they're kind of cutting through all the noise. They don't want to get to what they want. Like they don't care about all this. Then a lot of times they don't even want, they do want to get demos, but they want to see and they want to learn on
Mm,
their own. They want to look at the comparison pages. So early on, we built, very strong comparison pages, but I think we really did a good job with SEO early on. That
mm,
was a big part for us. We hired a specialist way back then when we barely had any money.
yep.
And then now our team is, I would say a machine. We are always looking for new ways we can rank when people are going through that journey. So that part is massive for us. And we're making sure it's valuable content. We're not just, just click up, click up, click up. We're giving you all the options. We have no
Mm,
problem telling you everything that's out there because most people have already seen it, Eric. Like most people
right.
know our competitors. They've seen one or two. The beauty for us is for them to get tired of one of them and then start searching. Okay,
Yep.
Asana alternatives, things like that. That's where we really want to pop up. And that's where I think the social thing comes back into play. There's a lot of people who
Yep.
are going to hear of ClickUp, and then they'll first will be known for the funny videos. They'll go back and say, well, what about their software? And then they can hear our story, they can see our product, they can see how great our pricing is, how much we offer, and our mission to really be one app to replace them all. Which at the beginning was also told that was crazy, but I think now it's becoming more realistic now that we have whiteboards, we have strong docs, and we're
Mm,
only releasing more and more all the time. But I think the beauty of that is we catch you top of funnel, and then we really nurture you well. We do a lot of value with different webinars, things like that. We're always trying to add value, but ours are different. The beauty for me is that when I create something, I can give you value and put it in a ClickUp doc, right? I can put it in a ClickUp template. I can work with an influencer and I can have them just give something away, but they give it away in that ClickUp doc. And that still leads to signups. That still leads to people getting into our product. So I do feel very blessed that we're in the project management space because content can always still lead to my
right.
product.
Right. Which you want to do sort of in like not a super formal way. Like you don't want the product to be the center of the content, to your point, in a lot of cases. And so it can be there. It's like a part of the content, but it's not the point of the content
Exactly.
necessarily.
People, when they're ready to search, are going to go find it on their own. I don't need to go force them to go search.
Right.
When they're ready to search, they will. So I don't need to, I don't overdo the call to actions and things like that. When people are
Yep.
searching, they're going to go search. And I just want our name to be in that list because I feel strong about us competing with a lot of our competitors.
Totally. Okay, cool. Well, let's dive into what you guys are seeing working. Your most recent win, which was a home run, was you had a single video essentially capture 50 million impressions across social. So like I think for a lot of people, they can see that and get inspired by it and want to try to like, do what they can to replicate that success. But probably, and I'd love to learn from you on this, like there's a lot that goes into that outside of let's just go put together a quick video and, see what works. And I know you've talked about like you now basically are doing the opposite of what a lot of the common a lot of the common rules are for what works on social. Like you don't have hooks, and you're not making the product like the center of the content, and a variety of things that like everybody's like, oh, this is what you should do, and you're doing the opposite. And you've built a team around you and you're going all in on this. You're not sort of like putting one foot in, one foot out. Hey, let's test it and, kind of do it in a haphazard way so the test actually doesn't work. But it's actually not a true reflection of what could happen there because you didn't go all in. So I'd love to hear, what you designed for this whole approach to then lead to those results, and then, what you're going to do with it going forward.
You got it. Look, there were steps to this. having a brand that had a lot of impressions has always been a goal of ours, right? We did a Super Bowl commercial for a reason. We want
Yep.
eyeballs. We've always wanted eyeballs because we believe we can turn those into users. But back in the day, we had a full video team. We used to have a full team that was working towards this, and it never really. We had great commercials and all that. Team is unreal, but it never really translated to TikTok and social, and that's a different game. And I really knew that when I took a crack at this, how I wanted to do it, and so I basically just asked Guar, our COO, and Zeb. I was like, look, just have faith in me because I'm going to do everything not the traditional way. I'm not going to do what everyone thinks. I'm not going to talk about our brand, but I'll get a lot of views. You just got to give me a tiny bit of time. So step one was finding the creator. I think first you have to find a creator, right? Like, why hire an actor? Why just put a camera in your office? Like, and go around and try to put random people who are developers or marketers just on camera. They're not made for this. They haven't done this. They don't know how to fight the algorithm. They don't know how to create in a way that grabs attention, but creators do. So I've been watching this guy, Luke. I owe a lot of this to Luke. I think Luke is a genius. He's the guy in the blue polo, really
Yep.
dancing heavy in the videos that are going viral. And it started with Luke. So I convinced him to let me, work with Luke. I'd been watching Luke for 1 year. He had been at AdWorld and he had built them an amazing page that I thought was just unreal valuable. And they parted ways and I kept staying in touch with Luke. I was like, hey, if anything ever, changes, let me know. I'm here. And, I think we could really have a long-term thing. And they did. And when I first started with him on contract just to prove the value to everyone else, but I've hired him full time since.
Yep.
But the first 2 months we just created videos, and in those 2 months we had a video hit 6 million, and a video hit 2 and 1. So nothing as insane as now, but still more than we had ever seen, and enough to where I unlocked more budget. That's when Guar's like, okay, let's build this even more serious. And then from there we kind of found a producer, someone who's been in the space for a while, who I really respect as well, Mark. He's got a lot of experience. So he's kind of coming in and helping because we're not just doing this one channel. Like ClickUp Comedy. ClickUp is the one you've seen right now, but I have ClickUp Comedy where I'm testing new creators as well that are funny. I have ClickUp Memes where I'm running memes. They're steady growth. Like that's my more slow growth. It may not have 50 million impressions now, but we've gotten 20 million impressions off our memes. So it's a whole nother page. It's up and coming. I'm doing, I have a DIY page coming out next month, like the whole drilling, it just grabs great attention. I'm testing everywhere because if I'm gonna hit 200 million impressions, it's gonna be tough to do it off just one page. And you never know, some go down, but that's kind of the step there. And then so Luke came in, and then after a few more videos, I decided to bring in help for him. So kind of someone to help in the writer's room. And then we also got another guy, Adam. And Adam's the other actor you see. He's actually a professional actor. He's the other actor you see in the big HR videos. And now we have a full team, and all the pressure's not on Luke, because when you have one creator, I think it really does get tough for all the pressure to be on them. They have a couple of great videos, then maybe for 2 weeks nothing hits, and that's okay. You have to still stick with them. You can't short sight this. Like anything good in life, you can't just look at this as a 2-month project, a 6-month project. You have to look at it as a year, 2 years, if not 10 years. And that's kind of what I'm doing. So now we have the team, we have the foundation, and it's really paying itself back in big dividends. And sure, we have these hits now, but that doesn't mean I'm still not thinking for the future, because at some point the audience could get fatigued. So I'm definitely thinking ahead of, okay, how can I keep this audience entertained? If this video's stop doing as well, what is next? That's why I'll get into my formula with you, but I have a formula to keep this going and to make sure I always have a testing ground while I'm still hitting the hardest what's successful.
Love that. And I think it highlights something that's like good content. When it's successful, it actually looks effortless, and it looks like it was easy to create. And so it can actually lead those who want to get started in it to the wrong conclusion, that they actually don't need to really put all this effort behind it, put all this team behind it. You've got a weekly writer's room where you all jam for, a couple hours on what that video content should be for that week. And then you're reviewing it, analyzing it, going over it every single week. You can't have outlier success on these platforms if you're only putting in 1% of time, effort, energy into it.
It's never going to happen. We're OCD about it. Like, we spend that time. Sometimes it's more on the writer's room. It's really getting even more in depth. And we have, again, multiple creators we're doing it with. And then throughout the week, I've never found a program that really pulls all data properly, right? It's hard to integrate properly with Meta. So we have a team that's really going and fully tracking to make sure we even get the views from older videos that go up after a video goes viral. So we're putting a lot of work into it. We're tracking it. On Fridays, we're analyzing. Okay, this did great. This did not. And then again, back on Monday, we're hitting it again. And I think people during the week and even over the weekend are finding new ideas. So we come to that writer's room very prepared. Like, these are my 4 ideas that are solid. We don't
Yep.
just come with like 20. We come with your strongest ones. And at the end of the writer's room, we vote. And we don't go too into it. You don't vote on your own. We vote, and there's no ego, no hard feelings. Whoever had the best ideas, they get shot that week, and then we keep it moving.
Such a smart concept. It's like, the best ideas surface to the top, basically, and you all make each other better. Same thing as like the SNL writers room,
100%.
concept. Same exact thing. So, one specific question. So that's the team makeup. One more specific question on that, and then I'd love to go into the formula. Um, who is actually creating the video itself? Like, you've got the producer, you've got, a couple creators, yourself, obviously. Do you have somebody internal? Like, you've got the video team internal that was doing, the other video content, more the product marketing video content, it sounded like. Are they then, actually creating the videos, or like who's doing that for you?
So we don't have our full like large video team anymore. Now we have
Okay.
that's comprised of two guys, Isaac and Eric. They're crushing it. They focus on more of the product side.
Yeah.
Sometimes we bring them in the videos and things like that. But as for editing, this whole team is completely separate. So we have Mark, who helps a lot with the producing, but we really, it's kind of an all hands on deck. Luke will edit, the main actor. We try to keep him editing the least because I want him creating more. Adam, the runner up, he's kind of like the associate producer. He is also an actor, but he really edits as well. And then we have two other editors, kind of part-time, that are learning the style and editing. But, myself can give notes, Mark can give notes. We all kind of give notes. There's also Stormy. Stormy's a girl who posts. She's kind of my right hand on posting everything and managing social, but she can edit as well. So a lot of our team is just, really jack of all trades. A lot of them know how to edit. And we're kind of finding out who's best at editing the right videos. Sometime if Luke shot a certain video and he's like, I have a vision for it, give me that one.
Yeah.
So we kind of outline that too. So we treat the writer's room also like an action item room. At the end, it's like, okay, I'm going to take this one. I'll edit this one. This was my idea. I have the vision for this one. I'll edit this one. And so everyone knows when we leave on Monday what they're working on and what they're editing, and then which one is going to go out each day. Okay, this one we can get done quicker. It'll go Tuesday. Our HR videos are huge. We got to get one of those out. We're trying to keep one of those a week. And then we're still testing others as we go because, again, that could fatigue.
Super smart, honestly, to not over process it in the beginning. Like the creative flow is there. Like you've got basically, an approach to it and a formula to it, but you haven't said like, okay, we've got an assembly line and only you can do this and only you can do this and only you can do this. Cause that's gonna very likely put a ceiling on the best video content coming out for you all, when you layer on too much process for that. So yeah, I mean, you've obviously got all social channels basically. So you've got TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and yeah, I'd love to go into like, I mean, it seems like you're putting a heavy emphasis on TikTok right now. So yeah, I'd love to go into your formula for like how you think about getting the most success from the social content in general.
You got it. TikTok is to me, I don't look at it as just like creating content for TikTok. I look at it as we have created a machine that makes great short form content. Because to me, short form, like even if TikTok gets banned, cool. It happened in India and all those views just went to Instagram and YouTube Shorts.
Yep.
So I'm prepared either way. So we have created this short form content engine. TikTok is where I test it. And the reason being is I get the fastest turnaround answer. TikTok has the most chances of going viral. People can argue that they want, but it seems to, with no like rhyme or rhythm. You can start a new page tomorrow, and if you have a really great video, TikTok will reward it and it will give it a lot of views. So I test on TikTok, and once it does really well there, then I'm posting on Reels, YouTube Shorts, Facebook Reels, and I even post these on LinkedIn. LinkedIn videos are getting great. All these HR videos have 1,000+ likes, which from a brand account, I know it's not 2 million or 20 million impressions, but that's still a lot of people seeing it and a lot of important people seeing it. And it's very refreshing. I think it's new content. So I only think that'll get better as LinkedIn is testing out in beta features, the actual videos. I think if they roll that out and give that to me, we're going to be a real problem on LinkedIn. But I'm really hoping it does happen. But that's the thing. So I think really I can start on TikTok with this short form video because I think we've really mastered that. But that doesn't mean I don't think that written content's important. I think I even think I'm challenging myself right now to still improve that. We still do great on LinkedIn. I mean, we're growing well. We still do great on X. We're doing a little less as we used to. I used to have heavy focus on X because that just a year
Right.
and a half ago, that's where I was getting the majority of the impressions. So it's funny how things
Mm,
can change. And I think that's really a key of mine in social is I'm very, very inapt to adjusting quick. If trends are
yep.
moving, I don't have any ego or pride. I will adapt back to the other platform. But I think videos will come more on X. I just need to figure out how to get that proper. But yeah, my strategy is short form content. But
Yep.
then I have an entire different team. I'm working with writers and stuff to create, more written content. And then I have our other team, like we call it our platform team. They're building more of the ClickUp content of the product. And then
Yep.
myself and Stormy will still work with them and come in and say, hey, look, this is how we can make this product post a little cooler so it just doesn't get 6 likes or 8 likes. Like I only get a certain amount of at bats, and I'm very motivated to hit this 200 million number. So if I think a post isn't good, I'm really not going to put it up unless I am like really forced to. But I really think there's a way to blend in good content for product that still can be entertaining or cool. So that's where I'm challenging myself now. I've gotten this short form funny content down. Over the next month, you'll see me really try to master bringing that
Mm.
and maybe making those two worlds collide of being funny and still showing off our product. That's my new goal for the quarter.
How do you think about short form video versus long form video? So like long form, being like like video shows, video podcasts, YouTube series, more that mid to long form video. Have you thought about that at all?
Yeah, of course. I definitely want to get stronger on long form. Like what I do see a world where I take what we're doing on short form and we make long form of it. I think we can make
Mm,
these longer shows.
totally.
I need to see what that's like. I need to feel out what that's going to be production wise. How much is that going to hurt my short form strength? Because, again, I'm very serious on my goal, but it doesn't mean I don't want to win at every platform. Like I am highly competitive with myself. I will keep figuring it out. And, on the weekend is when I take my notes and kind of think, okay, what could I have done better in the week? And I always have YouTube long form there. So it's not that I'm putting it at a backseat completely, but I'm not going to come at it until I really feel strong, like I did with my TikTok strategy. So I will have some strategy. Maybe it is podcast. Maybe we'll talk after this. We did one earlier, but I think we didn't do it. It was kind of too early. I don't think we did it in the cool way that
Mm,
we could have. But I will definitely bring long form in, and I think that's where I would like to be maybe more product focused, but still find a way to do what we're doing in short form as well.
totally. Yeah, I think that's the by far the best approach is like to not try to do all of them at once, to dominate one and then go to the next from there. I see too many people trying to like spread themselves too thin. They've got like a team of one or two content marketers and they're trying to support all the social platforms with written short form video, and then they layer on like, a podcast and a YouTube channel, and it's just too much to get like the actual, home run success that you want. So I think that's super smart. And starting with short form makes a lot of sense to me because like that's applicable on every channel, and it's actually not that competitive in the B2B space, like where you all are competing in. Like
Wide
you
open.
don't have that many people executing it at the level that you are. And so I think it's a good way a good step to win first that, and then move on to the next strategies from there.
I feel like you just read my mind because that is why I chose going so hard on short form, right? It can go to the most platforms.
Yeah.
It's shorter to shoot. And I think so many people, I need to actually do a LinkedIn post on this soon, but one of the best advice I can give too is just focus on doing one thing really well because
Yes.
you can still, no matter what one thing you're doing, you can still repurpose it, right? Even if it's a newsletter, you can repurpose that to Twitter, LinkedIn, and eventually make videos from it. But do that one thing really well to where it's actually
Yep.
getting attention, where you're actually having people message you like, hey, I love this content. Until you're doing that, don't try to do 10 different things until you can get the one where people, it doesn't have to be a ton of people, but for some people really getting a lot of value from it or laughing at it. If you're not doing that, you really need to nail one first. Then you can start branching out. Like, I want to get this machine. To me, I look at it like spinning plates. That's what our CEO always says. I'm spinning this
Mhm.
plate. And as I get this spinning well, I will step to another and I'll get the, long form and things like that. But until I have that plate spinning really well, I'm not going to step off of it.
100%. And like you just have less factors that you have to contend with, I think, with short form. Like with long form, like let's say you do a show. Okay. You need the name of the show, the
Yeah.
positioning of the show, who's going to be on each, episode, and like is this a like what's the recurring themes of it? Like all these different decisions that you don't need to decide all those things with short form. necessarily in that way. With YouTube, it's like, okay, now we got to do thumbnails, we got to do all the packaging, we got to do the description, like just all these different components, which obviously massive wins to be had with those.
Massive.
But you just, you got to pick and choose your battles depending on, what resources you're starting with.
You know, you really hit a couple things there too. So YouTube to me is arguably probably the most important, right? It's evergreen, so it's searchable on Google. So arguably that is the most important. But the second thing I wanted to tell you is everything I do before I roll it out with ClickUp, I try it for myself. So I started a YouTube channel. I think I got through like 7, 8 videos, and I realized how hard it is. I'm gonna continue, and I'm gonna keep it going. But
Yep.
I like same with TikTok. I started TikTok. I got to like 15,000, and I saw. So for everything that I'm doing,
Mm,
I try it first, and
love
that's
that.
how I got to know the creators. I got to
Yep.
know Luke and Mark because they were both on TikTok, and I just kind of reach out like, hey, I'm this guy. I'm trying. So it's not just me
Yep.
reaching out from some random company. I'm in this game with you. I'm trying to learn
Yep.
social too. I don't come in as some like super expert because I don't think anyone is. You can study as much as you want, but social is always changing. Someone's always going to know a hack you don't know. So I think that's the beauty of it, is that I really try these things myself, and I don't care if I fail. I don't care if 10 people watch my YouTube. I'm still going to keep trying it and build, because then I'll have a better understanding when it comes time for ClickUp.
Absolutely. Yeah, spot on. How do you think about the founder brand content, or like the internal sort of thought leader content, like from ClickUp, team members, their social profiles versus like the brand accounts? Obviously, I think over the last 5, 6 years or so, like there has been more of a sentiment and success, it seems like, that can now happen with like personal brand accounts that representing the company. Obviously massive wins to be had with both, but yeah, how do you think about like powering or the effectiveness of either of those?
It's a hot trend, and I think every company should be on it in some way, right? Like when, especially on LinkedIn, winning on a brand account is challenging. And I'm not saying it's impossible. I think ClickUps is growing a couple thousand each week. Like we're growing
Yep.
well, but that takes a lot of work, and it is easier to grow as a personal account. And there's almost no reason not to, right? Like it's a win-win for both sides. If you're at the company and you start growing, great. Like your personal brand is better. You'll probably have a better chance if you ever look for another job, because who doesn't like a nice bonus of hiring someone and they also have a nice audience on LinkedIn? It's cool. Secondly, I think it's a fun way to hit different niches. So it's
Mm,
it's an initiative of mine. It's taken a tiny bit
mm,
of a back step since having such success with short form, but I'm still challenging, and we still offer like incentives to anyone who wants to write on their own, because we want them to become thought leaders. We have Gaurav, he does his thing, but we don't have many others that are large. Zeb's our CEO. He really likes to focus on work and the product, and that's perfectly fine. I enjoy doing this. I think, can I get better? Absolutely. Like I think I should have a larger following, but that's on me. I need to be more
mm.
consistent. But I finally found that day-to-day content, and I really appreciate you noticing it, because I'm just starting it, is like following someone on a journey. I think that's cool.
Yes,
Rather than me just posting up, say, hey, I was with ClickUp at the
exactly.
beginning. Those are my best posts so far. It's like saying something I've learned from being at ClickUp at the beginning. I learned some really cool things, right? We grew very fast,
Yep.
and I want to share them all. But also now I'm on a mission. So anyone who wants to improve their brand, I'm going to give away what we're doing here. I don't mind doing so. I think it'll be a fun ride. And anything that I'm giving away, you still got to implement it yourself. So I'm excited to help people on it. I don't mind doing it. There's plenty of views to go around. Competition is good, but I think I want people to realize that there are some important trends. Hiring a creator, building internal influencers. These are things that everyone should
Mm,
be looking at as a brand. But as for how much time we're spending on it, we started it, we put a lot of time into it, and then we held back a little bit. But I will pick that back up, because I would like for a sales solutions engineer to be one of the guys at ClickUp, right? Like right now, you think of
yep.
just a few main positions: a founder,
Yep.
or your top sales rep, or maybe your CMO. Those are the ones who are kind of winning. But I foresee like the
Mm,
regular positions, because on LinkedIn we come to learn, and who better to learn from than someone in your role at a company you respect? That's how you learn. You see the work they're doing, and then you can learn how they're doing it. So I think, yeah, that's something I'm glad you brought it up, because I need to kick myself to get that back going as well.
well, and two, like I think about, each platform kind of skews towards different audiences, and like for founders specifically, like if you're selling to founders, and so ClickUp, I imagine, has a lot of personas that actually buy the product, depending different
Tons.
departments, different leaders. So you kind of are selling probably across the whole org, which makes a lot of sense to have like individual sort of thought leaders at ClickUp representing that persona. They sit in that seat, at ClickUp. But, you know, this isn't 100% accurate, but like I always think like, Twitter, LinkedIn definitely is too, but Twitter, if you're selling to founders, Twitter seems like the best place of like founders on that platform talking
Of
about
course.
founder stuff. And then LinkedIn, it's like team members at companies and all the different roles there. And so you also got to match like what platform you're doing that personal brand strategy to, depending on who you're selling to, I think, as well.
100%. And you got to be consistent. I think consistency is key on that. And I'm glad you brought that up too, because founders do hang out on Twitter. That's where they have their real, you
Yes.
see beef on there, you see real drama there. So I think it's a good one to get back in, but I almost feel like you got to be on that level. Like it's hard for the ClickUp brand account to just jump in. They're going to be like, like they just, it's founders talking to founders. So on that one, I think you
Yep.
have to be either at that level or doing something that founders will respect.
Yep. How would you think about this if you were getting started at a company that doesn't necessarily have the brand name recognition as ClickUp, and you want to invest in like a modern content first strategy? Would you think about this as like, okay, let's pick one or two platforms, let's let's have our internal team members create the content because maybe they're not in a position to hire external yet. So basically, like, how would you think about somebody what their first steps should be if they're getting started with this and they don't necessarily have the brand recognition and a massive budget behind them? And then separately, I'd be curious what you think about like, okay, we want to invest heavily in this. We haven't done it to date, but we do have budget for it. How do you think about those two different scenarios? Because I think that's going to be a common one for a lot of companies.
Something I really wish we did. And I remember I brought it up back then. I will rub this back in Zeb and everyone's face. At the beginning, I really thought we should have had cameras up the entire time we were building ClickUp. We lived in Palo Alto. We lived in a house together in like one of the most prominent areas of really was Silicon Valley, and the way we even had the ideas, we lived in Charlotte, North Carolina. We saw the show. We had advisors tell us, hey, you're kind of a big fish in a small pond. You need to go somewhere. So we went to Palo Alto, and I really, really wish that we just had a camera up. And it doesn't have to be just one person. Like if you have your early 4 to 6 people, like record the whole thing. Like that is a TV show in itself. Like people don't, because no one really records those moments. There's so many moments that we had that were aha moments that I know will never be recorded. We barely even took photos back then. We were so focused on building ClickUp. We were working very hard, 7 days a week. But I really, really wish we took time to just have cameras, maybe even go talk to the camera, like, the office style, like back in to say, hey, look, man, this week is crazy, but we did, I wish I did something when I landed our first customer ever. That's a huge moment. Luckily, I still am in touch with them and, we talk about it. But I mean, I don't think I can ever bring back that sheer like passion in my eyes when I realized someone was going to pay for ClickUp. Like that's something you can't bring back. And that is something people will attach to. So my first thing is just like put cameras up, put your phones up, get a little tripod, start recording things, go cut it later. And then maybe talk to it a little bit later as a podcast style or whatever, but have that B-roll, have those moments because man, that's precious. And I think hats off to whoever does do it soon, because we have like a few videos. There's one of me when I closed our first like big deal Home Depot, and there's a video of Zeb like hyping me up before I go in, like I'm getting ready for the sales call, and then me coming out and just dancing and celebrating. Just a quick little phone video that we took for our own small memory, but we play that at our SKOs and things like that now because there's such like moments we cherish, but we just wish we had way more of them. So that's one. And then I think the other thing is that you should have started a podcast, right? Like there's no reason not to get on and do exactly what we're doing right now. I'm learning from the questions you're asking. I'm reevaluating what I'm going to work on this week from great questions. You're learning from me. Your audience will learn as well. There's nothing more beautiful than that, but make sure you're really, I think you have to care about the value you're giving first. Like if you're just doing a podcast, do a podcast. It'll never go anywhere. But if like you and I are really caring about helping the people who are watching this, we'll go somewhere. Someone will get something from this. And then the second question you asked was if I something I want to do, right?
Yeah, larger company with budget and they want to do it. They believe in it and they want to put resources behind it.
What's an idea they should do if they have?
Just like what first steps, that they haven't really done much yet, but they want to go big with this.
Almost in a different form, like I saw a LinkedIn post the other day, and I can't remember who posted, so I'm not trying to steal it. I will cite it later. I saw this post the other day, and I think it was a lady saying something so smart to me. It's like, you could pay like 30 grand for that booth, at a show, or you could pay 30 grand and get this podcast set up and
Yeah.
just and pump out unlimited content. And then, even do talk to some of the people that would be at this event and things like that. So I think, again, what I would invest in is having some type of studio somewhere where you can
Mhm.
create consistent content. That is huge. Like, whether it be weekly releases, just saying, hey, this is what we release this week, but it's in a cool setup where people feel
Yep.
you have more going on. I think that's the thing. Get a setup. Then the last one for me is, and I almost maybe shouldn't be telling everyone this because it'll cause more competition, but people should get creators. Like, you should have a creator at your company. If you like, it's very rare that you've hired someone who you probably have someone who can be a decent creator, right? Like,
Yep.
but it's a different level of getting someone who is a full-time creator. So I think bite the bullet, do it. There's really no reason not to. And think about it. They're more than just creating like videos for TikTok. They're creating your ads. Some of your best ads are in that short form content. So I'm not just looking at short form content as my TikTok video is going viral. I'm passing that along. And this
Yes.
is also a testing ground for Andy, who runs our ads. And I can come back to her and say, hey, look, this is crushing. Let's turn this back into the product in some way and crush it. And my creator's also going to create ads for her. He's not just going to create TikTok videos, or maybe we have something on the website, et cetera. You have someone who's a pro who can create whatever you need.
Awesome points. I've got 3 follow-ups to that.
Sure.
So on the get a setup recommendation, I think it's one of those things that kind of seems obvious, but so few people do it.
They don't do it.
And I think, from at least from what I see, be really effective is the polar opposites. So really raw content that's filmed with an iPhone that you just kind of like edit and CapCut, and it's super organic, super raw. But then the opposite side of like really legit setup, like a TV show like setup, where it's very obvious the moment somebody scrolls and they hit that in the feed that this person's taking this seriously. It's a pattern interrupt. I need to look at this. Like, what's going on with this? They've got a great in-person setup or just a great remote setup or what have you. But, if you want to create a show and have success with it, I think you need to treat the setup of it and the actual recording environment of it and the look of it with the same seriousness of like what a TV show would do themselves.
I think you made a super fair point, though. And I should bring this up as well. You can win with just an iPhone. You can
Exactly.
win with just a Sony
Totally.
Z, whatever it is, Z9, like the $500 camera. You can win with those 1,000%. If your
Totally.
content's good, if you think it out, and really, it's a lot in the edit. The edits
Yep.
are a lot of times key. So I should just throw that back in for early companies. Do not be afraid. Just start putting things out. Like,
Yep.
use the phone, put it out, because all of our TikToks, they're not shot on a camera. They're shot on
Exactly.
the phone. So I should make sure I specify that. But as you do, get to, I think, a larger brand, and that's why I bring that up. If you have that budget, I think people expect you to have something a little high. There's still something cool about doing the iPhone videos and things like
Yes.
that. But I feel like, as we have sometimes moved away from some of our high-end content, people do miss that. And sometimes people do
Yep.
notice your brand is like, oh man, they make that really high-end, that really crisp
Yep.
type of video. So I completely agree. I think people should definitely still use the phones, but
Yep.
there's something different about it. But you should never let your setup stop you. Start doing as is immediately,
Totally.
no matter what. But there's small things you can do.
Exactly.
To have a good setup, you really just need the right lighting. You can pay someone to come in and help set that up, and maybe $1,500, I don't know, and get the right lights max. You
Yep.
get the right camera. So I think it's really just making sure you at least put that minor investment to have a good setup, even if it's just something that you have. You don't have to have the person come in all the time, where you just hit play or record.
Yep.
And then you put it out there.
Yep. Or there's studios too, like usually around a lot of larger cities. Like you can just rent a 1-hour studio where somebody spent, 100 hours and 100 grand setting up really great like studios that are just plug and play. They've got everything set up. You come in, you record the content, and you're gone. So
75 an hour. There's one right down the street
Yeah.
here in Miami. It's
Exactly.
incredible. I probably should use it myself for some of these.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So on the creator front, how do you have any recommendations on how to evaluate a successful creator integration into the company? And sort of like what the expectations of that person should be.
One, I think you really need to think of what you want your brand to look like, because this person is representing your brand now. They will be associated with your brand. So you got to take a lot of time to think like what you want this person to feel like. I liked Luke because Luke can Luke can be goofy, but still is like, intelligent as well. So he can be very funny, but he can do a buttoned up video as well. He really has a wide range. And I like that he kind of like can speak to Gen Z, but he also has gray hair. So people think he gets knocked for people thinking he's older. I think he just really has this cool on look camera that I was very, very cool with him representing our brand. So that's number one. For how you find a good creator, you don't just look at their following. Following does not mean as much. I like to find a lower creator actually, but they've had a few hits. And meaning that they've had a video that's 500, 600K plus a couple times. Even if they only
Mhm.
have 10,000 followers, but if they have 8 videos that hit in the past like 3 months, they know something. Like they're
Mm.
figuring it out. And it's just a matter of time before they do have more followers. So I'm always looking for those creators. I'm always watching the internet, and that is what I'm looking for. And I hit them up. I stay in touch with them because I never know when I'm going to want more or just want to work with them one off. But knowing good creators is very valuable to me. And then how you integrate them into the product, into the platform is, like for us, it's easy. Like we do everything in ClickUp. So Luke is still
Right.
learning ClickUp because in our meetings we're using ClickUp when we're assigning
Yep.
tasks for the shoot day the next day. Who's writing what? Who's editing this? All that's in ClickUp. So for me, it's a little easier. But I think you should have them use your product no matter what. Like I think I've had a lot of success in influencer marketing in general, even before this. And the reason being is I won't just hire someone based on their following. I won't just hire because they want to work with us. I will give them our product. I will give them a training,
Yep.
and then I'll come back and be like, okay, like what did you learn? How is it saving your business time? And if it's a cool use case and I see them actually passionate about ClickUp, then I will work with them.
Mm.
And that's why we're working with Devin Reed so heavy now. Like I
Mm.
had him, he has his newsletter. We now have a cool way that he can post his newsletter, change the HTML all inside of ClickUp. I made his life easier. That's something I actually did. Now when he speaks about it, it's real, it's genuine. And like he's going to bring it up on regular podcasts, not just when we pay him to,
Right.
because it's a real thing. So I think that's the last thing is whether it be a creator or an influencer, like really, really have them learn the product, really show the value it adds, because it's not like the old days where you can just pay someone to, hey, this is this water bottle. People are so immune to that. It's ridiculous. So, but
100%.
it's the same in B2B. So people are still just saying, hey, talk about my product. And if they don't really care about it, like people know the creator. And then the last thing is you cannot, but also don't tell them too much. The biggest mistake I think anyone can make, and I could have made with Luke, is I could have told him what content to make, right? I could have been too involved. I'm in the writer's room, yes, but Luke comes up with a lot of the ideas, or some, like I bring my ideas too. And if my ideas lose that week, it's all good. Like I don't think mine should win. I'm not that guy. When one of mine does win, it's great. But at the very beginning, I just kind of trusted Luke to test a lot. I didn't really pressure him on too much. I said, hey, let's maybe try the project manager space and things like that. But you need to let a creator create. Never, ever like give them these 10-page brand briefs and things like that. A creator knows what they want. Their audience trusts them because of that content. As soon as you veer them away from that and they're trying to do something they're not comfortable with, you lost it all.
Great points. And what would you say to somebody who's worried about the creator almost becoming more synonymous with the brand than, the brand itself, or, the founders of the brand or something like that? Basically feeling like we've got a lot of risk in this person now who's got all the attention and the eyeballs. And what if they leave? Or what if they, sort of like pressure us into 4xing their comp, or what have you, things like that.
It's something you always have to think about, right? I think it's why I think you do need to be fair when you work with the creator. If they're going to be that good and you think they have that potential, which is, why, like with Luke, I feel like it's more than just like a colleague. Like we're friends, right? Like I've really got to know him on a deep level before we invested this much in him. We believe in him. But I think there's ways that you can really get them bought in to the company as well. So the company's success is really dependent on what they do. So I think really structuring how you work out your long-term deal with them and making it advantageous for both and being fair to both is great, because there's nothing worse than having like a breakup or like what happened to the Backstreet Boys or NSYNC. You don't want to take advantage of the creator, and you also don't want the creator to take advantage of you. But I think if you're very fair, if you're doing everything well, you're rewarding them well, you're doing the things you say you're going to do back to them when they hit their goals, and vice versa, and they're putting all their effort in like they promised you.
Mm.
I think it can be a great working relationship. But I'm glad you asked that, because things could be different. So that's another reason why you should be very careful who you choose as your creator. If you have
Yep.
someone who might go to do that, then that's a problem you might have to deal with. And you should also be very careful in like your processes. Like whether it be just one face, you should always be building, you never want to put all your eggs in one
Multiple.
basket completely, especially if you're worried about that. Luckily for me, I don't have to. I see a very long-term relationship with what we have going on, and I feel everything's fair on both sides, but it's definitely a strong question that
Yep.
that should be very well evaluated before you move forward with a creator.
Yep. And I don't want to minimize that concern, but I don't think it should be something that prevents you from like executing on this strategy, which clearly is like in 2024, a modern content marketing at its finest. And so like, unless you want to just keep doing the same old style that isn't as effective, this really is like kind of one of the key pillars of what you should probably explore. But just keeping in mind, like approaching it carefully, to your point.
100%. Make sure you're smart. Make sure you think about it. Work with your legal teams, etc. And with the creator, like choose someone you trust. Like if you choose
Yeah.
someone who's just there for for a quick thing and wants to take advantage, that could be troublesome. But I think we got super lucky on our end because as I'm picturing that could be so unfair and so unfun to play out.
How do you think about, so you mentioned, not just on the organic side with this creator led content, but also the paid. So two-part question on this, which is how do you think about paid to drive more impressions of the organic content for the purpose of growing the followings versus paid using the organic content to drive intent for the brand? Those are kind of two separate things, and maybe they're like overlapped in how you think about it just in general because of your highest level point and goal here is impressions, which of the content, which ultimately is going to have that downstream effect.
It's a good question. I've always been quite nervous to play with the two the same. Like I
Got it.
feel I don't know, and maybe I don't have full evidence on any of this yet, but I feel like if you depend on your paid to
Yeah.
get your views up, I just feel like it's a dangerous game to play. So I keep it separate. Like whatever I've created organically stays organic, and then
Yep.
we create things for paid. Now,
Got it.
I think maybe we should test a few things. Like I might boost a LinkedIn post here and there.
Right.
We don't boost TikTok. We don't boost IG. I don't know. I just feel like I don't want to say that once you do it, you have to keep doing it, but I don't know. I really like just winning it organically there. And then when I see something really works, maybe I'll do a different version for the ad. But
Mm,
it's where I don't think we've almost ever taken just like a videos on TikTok and put it as an ad because they're not really made for ads. But what I might do is have like in the future, I'm toying with the idea of having those characters do something in the HR format and turning that into an ad. But
yes.
it's that's something I'm still working on with our ad team now. Is how do we do that perfectly without I don't want to be cheesy. I don't want to like ruin what we've built on the organic. I'm very careful about
Totally.
that. So right now they've been completely separate, to be honest with you. Like Luke will
Yep.
still go create a video, but it will not be in the HR character format.
Got
It
it.
will just be, in a different format. And I do think there's a lot of value in that. Like, I mean, this guy's getting noticed when he goes out now. You know what I mean? Like we have big publications wanting to interview him as well. Like when you get that many impressions, people don't realize like that's many football fields or baseball stadiums, whatever sport you watch. That is a lot of those being filled more than maybe that watch a Netflix TV show and et
Yep.
cetera. So like he's now getting noticed. One of our employees went to the airport wearing their ClickUp swag and they're like, hey, we love the videos. We watch them on our break. Like he's getting a lot of attention. So now when he's on the ad, it's almost like I hired,
Mm,
someone famous for the ad as well because he's
right.
he's getting well noticed in this core audience of ours.
With the connection already, to ClickUp, that
Exactly.
mental sort of availability towards ClickUp.
That's the
Yeah,
ClickUp
that
factor.
makes sense. And like, because that's what I'm seeing, as a really strong use case here now as well, which is like using the success of organic, which formats are successful, which concepts are successful, which topics are successful, to then inform what should get turned into paid because you've already proven the success of that concept, topic, style, approach in organic. And so you're going to have a much better chance of it
Exactly.
resonating with paid. Even if you like recreate it, but just kind of use what the lessons from that, but you do it in a more like, you've got maybe a little bit more of a CTA there or something like that in a paid approach, but you at least now have that data point that like people like this concept.
Why wouldn't you test on social? It's free, right? And there's no
Yeah.
punishment for a failed test, so it's all good.
Yep. Cool. Well, this is kind of, maybe it's like almost a micro and a macro at the same time, but like ultimately, how do you look at the success of social from a measurement standpoint? How do you recommend people measure the success of social? And this could be top level on like just overall strategy. Like, are you looking at the demand that ultimately social is driving to pipeline, from the highest level perspective? And then obviously you've got, in platform impressions, views, followers, that I'm sure I mean, obviously 200 million impressions is the goal. And so that's telling you like the content is resonating. But yeah, how do you look at that? Because I think social's hard to attribute, in a lot of ways.
Very
Like
hard.
it's really hard to attribute. And that's where a lot of companies get hung up is like, well, we're seeing a lot of, click through Google, direct or organic. And it's like, well, really that demand was generated from TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, social, and then they go to Google and type in the brand name. So how do you look at that and get an accurate read on it?
Hey, look, it's the age old question, when you're on this mission, right? Like, I mean, I remember even as we were first having some success, a lot of people were questioning, like, okay, this is cool, but what's it really doing for signups? And I'm lucky that our leaders and our board really gets it. Like they're cool with it. Like, and that's why they gave me the 200 mil impression number, because they were like, look, if there's that many eyeballs, and for what we're for the budget we're giving you, we
Yep.
know it's well worth and beyond, right? It's not like I'm not spending a ton of money on this. I don't have some crazy operation. It's quite scrappy. But the beauty is that we're still seeing a ton. Like right now, of course, I track it by impressions, I track it by likes, I track it by
Yep.
growth of followers. That's like the main thing I'm focusing on now. But that doesn't mean I'm not looking to track seats and things like that. Like there's still ways you can do it. Having a custom link in the bio of Twitter. Like I see how many profile visits we get on Twitter. I see how many people are coming to ClickUp from there. So that's awesome. As for like direct signups, it is easy to track when I do a certain template and things like that. I can track that template. But again, I'm not doing that on these specific videos, right? Like
Right.
I'm more getting the followers and then coming back with something like that later. And a lot of feedback I got early on was like, hey, like, is the content worth it if it's not directly putting someone in the seats? And I think like if you think that way, I think you'll never get these kind of numbers I had. Like if you just
Mhm.
create content right away, thinking, is this going to directly put someone in ClickUp? I mean, you might get someone directly in ClickUp, sure. And that's awesome. And maybe that is your strategy and that's perfectly fine. I'm still going to create content that I know via these templates and via these, things like that, that will directly drive signups. But I know that there's no way you'll beat me creating just some kind of direct content like that, because way more people want to laugh than they want to sign up directly for a tool. But that doesn't mean I can't get them later. So I think the goal right now is 200 million impressions, but I'm still working with the team in the back end for clever, creative ways that we can take from TikTok and do that. But we're not going to do it in a way that slights what we've built so far. We really, really care about what we have going and getting these eyeballs. But as we're growing and as we're on that mission, I have great people who are good at doing that part for me. I have the data team watching to see spikes, to see what's really resonating. And so from there, I will lean on them to kind of help me, whether it be some new custom
Mhm.
landing page, whether it be something we do in app. That's something to still be said, but it's definitely not top of mind. But it's also not so much so that I'm going to kill everything I've worked for to just start creating content where these guys are like, sign up for ClickUp, and then it
Yep.
ruins all the momentum.
I think finding that perfect balance of like attention versus intention. So intention to the product versus just attention in general, which like honestly finding that sweet spot is the whole name of the game in my opinion. So just pure attention that drives nothing to the product is like ever is obviously not the goal,
Of
but
course.
having just pure intent based content, more bottom of funnel, more product focused, you're not really going to capture the TAM, the full audience TAM, full buyer TAM that could be a market for your solution. So you like it's that figure it out. And I don't think there's one perfect answer for like, where that line should start and stop and how you integrate it. I really like your point of like, let's get the eyeballs of people who care about these general topics because we know these topics hover around ClickUp in general, and then we'll figure out ways to convert them with pointed content throughout that at some point.
We'll catch them later, right? Like it's not like I
Exactly.
don't have other points of content. It's not like I don't have middle of funnel, bottom of funnel.
Exactly.
So to have the best top of funnel as possible, I see no harm, no foul, right?
Yep.
But that's really on a lot of other teams to help me win there. And I have a ton of faith in ClickUp. The way we're crushing our ads or CAC payback.
Yep.
I've got a lot of faith. So I'm just going to keep focusing on my
Yep.
part, but I'm still going to be working with the teams to figure out what that is. And luckily, like at ClickUp, we're also close. Like I'm still, everyone's cheering me on for what I'm doing. A lot of people are saying their family sent this to them and they didn't even realize it was a ClickUp video. They were just sending because it's funny, right? A lot of the sales guys are saying it's coming up on calls all the time. My HR team said they're flooded with inbound applicants because everyone wants to work at the company where they feel like this HR. A lot of people do feel like it's quite real. Maybe we should ride that a little longer. But a lot of people are applying. They want to work at a company where something like that is happening. So there's a lot of influx. And like you said, I'm going to keep working. I'm not just doing this for no reason. I'll keep working to
Totally.
find a way. But for now, we're very proud in that, this is a very good investment. It's a lot of fun and it's got people talking about our brand.
Love it. And last question, anything else that we haven't covered that you're just excited about in terms of content trend, specifically B2B content trends here, now and going forward, that you think is a good opportunity, you're excited about, or like you think, you all can take advantage of, or anything like that?
I think it's a lot of what we've talked about, but still just in a different version, is that like you got to have some kind of your own show. And I'm not even saying we've built that yet, but I
Mhm.
think, whether it be the podcast format, whether it be the funny format, whether it be the teaching
Yep.
format, like I think people are looking to that. Like we're not watching a lot of people are still watching Netflix stuff a lot, but people still want to come somewhere else in the working world. Like they still want to learn, they still want to laugh, they still want something kind of consistent. So I do see it wide open in B2B. So I would invest in something
Yep.
consistent that is content. That's not just a newsletter. That's beyond that. I would challenge everyone because everyone has a newsletter. You can only every person can only read but so many. I don't know about you, Eric, but like I have my 3 to 5. They're my go-to, and it's kind of hard to make it in there
Yep.
after that, But when it comes to funny videos, if someone's making some great videos, I'm going to follow them. I'm going to watch it. Like if you
Yep.
allow me to release my brain and laugh, great. If you are teaching me something that makes me better at social media for me and my job, I'm going to watch it. And the same with developers. I've asked everyone at the company, and everyone has someone they watch to learn from, right? So it's very important. So hop in one of those niches, or even just add value to them,
Yep.
like whatever it may be. Show them new tools, show them new trends going on in the space, tell them the news, do something consistent, just to keep them at top and feel like they know you more, because I think that's more valuable than people realize. And you can't really put an exact dollar amount on that, but you look at the brands like Coke and Nike, they make you feel some way, some type of way without just showing their products. And you got to find your own cool way to do that, because in B2B, it's a little bit different than Starbucks and than all those brands have it. But we're now learning our own way of doing that. And we know those brands that do it well because we talk about them, and they're the only ones that do get talked about.
100%. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be like only one format, or short form or long form. Like you can have a short form series. Like, Barstool's got
100%.
Sunday Conversations. It's like a 5, 6, 7 minute, interview series. It's not what you and I are doing here is like more like deep, 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 like let's go tactical for an hour. So you can do short form, you can do long form, you can have different formats, like you said, a news style, interview style, funny style, talking head educational format. Like, basically you can just build out this like, this matrix of formats and lengths and styles and approaches, and just like start, mixing and matching and seeing what, based on your audience and based on the competition, like where you might be able to win. So
Yeah. The main thing is you can't afford to not start testing.
totally.
Guys, you never know where you strike gold and then where you need to double down on.
Yep. Awesome. Well, Chris, this was great, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I
I
enjoyed
would
it.
highly encourage everybody to go follow you on LinkedIn to kind of see this playbook unfold in real time with your Build in Public sort of series on it. And also, if anybody wants to see this execution in real time as well, go follow ClickUp on all the socials, especially TikTok. Anywhere
A
else
lot
you
of
want to
fun.
drive people to, though?
Yeah, ClickUp on that. So at ClickUp on socials. And then I'm Chris ClickUp on Twitter and LinkedIn, and there's at Cunningham on Instagram and TikTok. But I'll start posting for all the platforms, the whole journey. That's the main ones for us. I'm excited to see what we do. We have ClickUp memes and all that, but hopefully we find you on the For You page and you'll find it eventually.
Love it, man. You're crushing it. I'm excited to follow along. Thank you again.
Thanks, you too, Eric.